What is up, my Division 2 peeps, and welcome to the Build Junkies channel. Today, we're going to go off script, little unscripted action here. I've seen some people put out some videos in the last couple of days because one of the DZ vendors has a Dark Winter for sale, and that is a sought-after gun by a lot of people that do close quarters SMG builds. And they've put out some videos to show different ways that people that are not so PvP keen can go and farm the DZ credits needed to purchase that weapon or any other piece of gear that the vendors may have. The level 31 where you start a new character, you boost them to 30, and then you go into the level 30 Dark Zone is a viable option. It may, in the end, be a little bit easier than the method that I'm showing you here, but it takes time to build up that level 30 character gear and maintain it. Well, I guess it kind of does in this one as well, so it's kind of even on that aspect, and you don't have to worry about dying. But I wanted to showcase this. I have made other hardcore character videos before, and I wanted to showcase this as a secondary method, something that can also give you, well, something to do in the game. It takes a long time to run all the way through the game, the world tiers, New York, and everything else in order to get a hardcore character leveled up to end-game status. So it's something that you can pick at and work on when you don't have anything else to do, for sure. As you can see here, my hardcore level is only 179. And not to mention also that being in the Dark Zone on a level 40 character gives you a lot of XP. You clearing landmarks and supply drops and stuff like that in this game will give you a lot of XP. So it helps you level quickly on your hardcore character. It also puts a lot of XP on the board for your clan if you're a member of a clan that follows the amount of XP people get in a week. So it helps on several different levels. Obviously, it's not an easy thing to do by yourself. One of the methods that I use if I'm going to go into the DZ is I use a skill build, which a lot of people are like, whoa, man, you're tempting fate with that one. And they're absolutely correct. It's easier for me to sit back and, well, just be a chicken shit, for lack of a better definition, and let my skills do all the work. Now, I still do have to monitor my skills. I have to make sure that I'm keeping at least one up, because if they both go down at the same time and I get swarmed, it's death. And then I've lost that character and I got to start all the way over from scratch. But I've also done the shield build, the armor region builds, and everything else on hardcore characters, and then went in the DZ and tried to farm and got my ass handed to me. So for me, skill builds work the best. It allows me to pick and choose my cover, sit back, let the skills do all the work, and just reap the XP and the DZ credits for it. Now, one thing you will see me do a couple times in this video is go into the social menu. And what I'm doing there is I'm just checking to see if there's any other agents in the DZ with me. Now, back in the day, when you did a hardcore character, if you weren't strictly into just hardcore gameplay, one of the things that you did a hardcore character for, I apologize, my phone went off in the background. One of the things that you did a hardcore character for was in order to farm the DZ, because you weren't a PvP player. Now, back then, the probability, I shouldn't say the probability, the chance that you would run into another character in a hardcore DZ was very, very slim. And even if you did, they would probably be in there doing the same thing you're doing. They're in there farming. They're not in there to cause trouble. They're not in there to get into sweaty fights. It's to each their own. Leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. That has since changed, in my opinion, in the last year. There's a lot of clans out there now. I know for sure there's an American clan and a French-Canadian clan that are strictly hardcore, and they will go into these DZs and sweat. So my suggestion for all of you, if you decide to do it this way, is to make sure you're periodically checking your social menu and seeing if you're the only one in there. I was in the DZ here for almost an hour, no one ever showed up. I was the only person in the DZ the entire time. And that's the way it is most of the time when I'm in there. I'm not going to say it's that way all the time. What I do, if I go into a DZ and I see people in there, even if I don't see them in there going rogue or anything else, I'll just go to another DZ. I find one that's empty, and then I go in there and I do my thing. And if someone comes into that DZ, then I'll come out and I'll go into another one. I just try to stay to myself whenever I'm farming the DZ credits. Now look, if you're a PvPer and you're a Billy Badass and you want to go in there and start sweating people in hardcore, to each their own. That's what the DZ is for. I'm not going to hate on you for it, but you're going to be tempting fate quite a bit when you're going up against rogue agents. So that's a lot of work. It takes somewhere around, if you've got someone helping you level, it takes somewhere around 6 to 8 hours of gameplay to take a character all the way from the start of the game through the Warlords of New York with a hardcore character. So that's a lot of time wasted, and that's just to get them to the end game. That's not farming gear for builds, because you can't take any of the gear that you have in your stash and use it on your hardcore. It's only what you can pick up and hold on your person. So you have to go out and farm, once you've reached level 40, pieces of gear for your builds. And it's, when you factor in all that stuff on top of it, that's a lot of time to be wasting just to go in there and lose your character doing something stupid like sweating people in the DZ. So it's not to say that if you're not really good at PvP that you can't go in there and not die. I'm sure you can. You're a Billy Badass. You rock on, man. Do your thing. But it's not my cup of tea. I use this strictly for farming DZ credits so that I have a nice little stockpile of them in my cache when there is something that comes along in the DZ vendors that I want to purchase. So to each their own. I will give you a couple other hints and tricks that I think I have mentioned in previous videos, but we'll go over them again quickly here, just so that you have some ideas once you do get your hardcore to 40, some things that you can do to help yourself along. The first one is going to be league and weekly event cache progressions. Know that there's a few things that you can share between your hardcore and your primary characters, and that is the special deliveries in your cache that you would get for anything, regardless from the devs or anything else. You can also, anything that you extract from the DZ can be shared between characters, as well as your progression caches for doing league events and Hollywood or Golden Bullet or any of the other events as well, so time trial events as well. All of those caches that you get for unlocking your stars, you can save and then go into your hardcore character and open them that way. So that can give you good gear as well as exotics that you're going to need to put together for your hardcore character. Same thing with countdown points. If you save all of your countdown points that you get for running countdown and extracting, and then you can go into your hardcore character and spend those points on your hardcore character. So it's very easy to spend 2 or 3 hours just running countdown, rack up a nice amount of points, and go in and have 6, 7, 8 exotic caches to be able to open from the countdown points on your hardcore character. And that was what I did with this particular character that you're seeing here. I got my Scorpio, my capacitor, I got several nice exotics, almost day one after getting them to level 40, just because I had so many countdown points saved up, knowing that I was going to be at level 40 soon as I finished the Keener mission. So, nice little tip and trick there, as well as you don't have to spend them on exotics. Once you got the exotics you think you're going to want for that hardcore character, you can spend them on named caches or anything else that you want to spend them on. So it does help when you're putting builds together on your hardcore character. Now, as you've seen from the gameplay, I play very conservatively. That is the one thing that I'm going to stress the most to people. If you're going to do hardcore solo crap in the DZ, don't go in there like a bull in a china shop. Play conservatively. If enemies are coming up behind you, reposition. Get to where your enemies are always in front of you. Make sure your skills are out. If you're not playing with a skill build, I don't really know what to tell you in that case. If you're not playing with a skill build, you just need to play smart. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Don't be afraid to go rogue and pick locks on caches like you're seeing me do here. As long as you're making sure that you're the only one in there, it really doesn't matter. And in worst case scenario, you're not the only one in there. You may scare off whoever's in there, saying, "Oh, I don't want to go up against this dude. He's going rogue." Then again, it could backfire on you. That guy could be like, "Oh, he's going rogue. It's time to party." So, to each their own. Figure that one out on your own. But I typically am not fearful about using the pick lock scenario on chests in the DZ and going rogue doing it. I do typically try to check and make sure I'm the only one in there while I'm doing it. But like I said, I hadn't seen anybody the whole time I was in here, so I wasn't too fearful. Now, I do recommend on a hardcore character that you do have a skill build. I recommend that on a hardcore character you do have a tanky armor regen build. Beyond that, it's up to you all. Those are builds that you should have on these characters. The tanky armor regen build. I'm not saying full tank. You need to be able to do damage. If you're not able to put the enemies down, then you're still going to die. But having one of those builds put together for when you're running hardcore with other people so that you can fluidly move quicker versus using the skill build would be helpful. And then obviously if you're going to solo stuff, a skill build works well. Now if you want to level your hardcore up, you can do the same thing you do in the normal character. You can go out in the open world, you can farm resource convoys, you can do all that stuff, and you can level up your character quickly. I find that running the DZ is not much slower than doing that, as long as I'm in there clearing landmarks. And as you will see in the very beginning, that very first landmark I ran was a heroic, and I triggered that by accident. But I typically try to stick to the challenging, hard, and normal landmarks when I'm in here doing this stuff solo, just because I know my skills on this skill build are going to put them down quick enough to where I don't have to worry about it. Heroic can get a little sketchy if you're not set up right, or anything happen in a heroic one. So, but if you want to run heroic, rock on, man. I'm not going to tell you not to. The other thing is on your build. I'm not going to showcase the build I'm running here. If you want to look up and see a template for it, you can look up the video that we did on legendary skill builds. That's essentially what I have on with my hardcore character. The only changes that I made for hardcore were I took away some of the haste attributes that I had on the build and I replaced them with armor regen just to give myself a little bit of survivability when I'm in cover. But beyond that, the build structure is the exact same as you see on our legendary skill builds, and that's the way I have this one set up. That's pretty much it on tips and tricks with hardcore. Play safe. Don't be a bull in a china shop. Don't go in there guns blazing. Sit back, chillax, let your skills do the work for you, and just reap the credits for it. Beyond that, I hope everyone is having a safe and wonderful day, and I hope everybody has a happy New Year's, because I am recording this video on New Year's Eve. We actually have friends coming over tonight to come and do some games and have some food and have some laughs with us. So we hope everybody else is having a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys all again in the next video and in the next year. Happy New Year's, everybody.